All right, dude, we are live. What's up, guys? This is Dem Keys, and okay, today I managed to start the stream a little bit early, or rather, I managed to not make the stream as late as I did yesterday. Definitely could have done a better job. I would have started the stream like 15 minutes earlier or 20 minutes earlier, but there was a small problem that I was trying to take care of. So I've been exploring IPython throughout yesterday and I think the day before. No, throughout yesterday and today, I've been exploring IPython. And dude, holy shit! Believe it or not, I never touched IPython, despite IPython being used as a backend in what I was doing with Jupyter notebooks, because Jupyter notebooks, or rather Jupyter, I should say, uses IPython as one of its backends. I don't know what all backends are supported, but IPython is definitely one of them. And when you are using Jupyter notebooks, when you're creating Python notebooks in Jupyter, it's usually using IPython in the background, or maybe even just a regular Python interpreter, but usually it's IPython, and that's why you are able to get such a rich experience. You have all these extra features and stuff. You can put in like magic commands, and you can put in shell commands and a bunch of different things. I learned that a bunch of these things, these aren't really Jupyter related. They have more to do with the backend. So these things really only work because um, IPython allows them, because they are IPython's features. And dude, holy shit! Recently, since I moved my workflow over to the terminal side, I I've been exploring a bunch of different tools, and IPython just happened to be one of the things that I had to explore. And holy shit, dude. IPython by itself, terminal based IPython, is it's pretty amazing. Like it's definitely a step up from using just the Python interpreter by itself. It adds a ton of features on top of it. Um, it is, dude, holy shit. It is amazing. It is pretty amazing. Now, why did I start using IPython? The reason is because this data science workflow and this Python workflow that I'm trying to set up, it's going to need some kind of REPL to send the code to, and IPython just happens to be a little more sophisticated than the Python interpreter itself. The Python interpreter itself is pretty bare bones. IPython The IPython interpreter, I should say, or the IPython REPL, is a lot more sophisticated. Just as an example, let's say I type str. Actually, let me make this full screen. Okay, so let's say I type str and I hit uh, st. Let's say I type st and I hit tab. It has this auto completion thing. Look at that. Not only does it show you the names of the members, but it also, or well, not all of them are members necessarily, but not only does it show you these suggestions, it also tells you what these suggestions are exactly. So you can see in the bottom it says store is a magic command, str is a class, static method is also a class. You can also do stuff like, for example, let's say I define a function, some func01, and it does the indentation for you as well. Let's just say, I don't know, hello world, okay? And then we exit that. So our some function has been defined. You can sort of query the object, right? You can get information about the object itself, but you can also get the source code of it, like this. Look at that. How useful is that? That is, dude, I mean, there's plenty of situations where I would find this kind of stuff useful. But also just having it within your toolkit, within your toolbox, it's useful. Give me a second. I need to set up my background sound, which is basically somebody else's stream running in the background so that there is someone else talking. Because for some reason, when there's no background sound, for me at least, and it's just me talking, my voice starts to shake. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's anxiety or if it's my awkwardness or what, but like I just unmuted this other stream that I have running, and now things are much better. Okay, now here's okay. I was mentioning that I was gonna start the stream like 15, 20 minutes earlier, but I kind of got held up with something. What I got held up with was that I wanted to just a minute. Yeah, what I got held up with was that I wanted to set up. Actually, no, I wanted to disable one of IPython's features. IPython has this feature where it maintains history for auto completion. So I mean, I've currently disabled it, but let's say I define a variable called sum str equals abc. Okay. Now, when I start typing something like this, let's say I type SOM, it's gonna sort of autocomplete, but not really fill it in. It's gonna suggest it, not suggest it through this tab thing. No, it it writes out the rest of it as grayed out text, as sort of ghost text. Let's say it fills out the rest as ghost text, to show you that, hey, this could be something that you might be looking for because you've done this in a previous project as well. So it basically maintains auto completion information across multiple projects. It stores all of this information in a SQLite database, which, dude, at some point we should look into setting up SQLite. Dude, I have not touched SQL in years. Last time I touched it was like more than a decade ago. I'm not even exaggerating about that. Because after that, all the stuff that I was doing, it didn't really require a database. I was able to, I was able to get away with, using other methods of persistence. I didn't really require a database, like a live running database with, a running server that'll serve up the database tables and stuff like that. I didn't require that, so I didn't really keep up with the technology a whole lot. And over the years, a lot more database technologies have emerged. A lot of open source ones as well, which is always amazing to see. And yeah, at some point, I do want to look into SQLite because I would like to familiarize myself with it, even if I may not be using it all that much. I don't know if I'm gonna have to see, because at least from what I understand, the whole concept is that you're gonna need to have a server running, right? I need to see what the system is, what the situation is. Like, are we allowed to start up multiple server processes, and each server can then serve up specific databases, or if it's just one server that serves up, all the databases that you have, and then you just pick out the database that you want? Because that would be a lot more primitive, I guess. I don't know if I don't know if primitive is really the best word to use there, but um, having just one server and then everything is stored within that server, all those databases are stored within that one server. I don't know if primitive is the right word to use there. It does also sound kind of insulting to call it primitive. But like what I'm trying to say is that it it doesn't give you a whole lot of options. On the other hand, if you're able to start up, multiple server processes, and each server process can serve up, certain databases, that would be a different situation. That would also be a more complex setup. But I need to see how exactly this thing works, because like is it possible for you to run a sort of contained environment? Like, for example, within Python, we are running currently, we currently have like this Python environment, and within this Python environment, we are running this IPython session, right? Um, Similarly, would I be able to install any kind of SQL related server specifically within this environment that only runs within this environment, and it picks up its information from this environment? I feel like that that would only work out well if the server itself is incredibly lightweight. Okay, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself with all of these ideas and stuff. At some point, we can do research about this because it does get used, at least from my understanding, it does get used in data science and ML as well. So, for example, if I want to go and do some work with somebody or some work for somebody relating to data science or AI research or whatever, people have mentioned in the requirements that knowledge of some kind of SQL database thing is sort of it's a requirement. So they will be using, and plus, I mean, not necessarily just for data science and ML stuff. They probably use it for a bunch of their own platform related things, which aren't necessarily anything AI related. So I want to learn. I want to learn how to use SQLite. Or let me see which SQL related tech is currently widely used. I'm definitely not going to go back to whatever Microsoft's SQL thing was. I think it was just called SQL Server. I don't remember. I think it was just called SQL Server. I want to go with the open source, whatever the open source alternative is, and whatever is widely being used right now. Okay, that being said, how did I get to this? Yeah. So the history that I was talking about, the auto completion history that is shared across multiple projects, the way it's done is that these entries are all stored inside one SQLite database, and apparently all IPython sessions just read from that database. So because of that, you're able to get these auto completion suggestions persisting across multiple projects. And that's great. That's super convenient. It's amazing. My issue with that was that I don't trust myself enough to not accidentally put some some sensitive, let's say, some sensitive information into a variable. I don't know if it suggests values. I don't know if it has that kind of thing where it suggests values for variables, but it does suggest variable names, member names. And yeah, I was kind of concerned that maybe something that I put in a different project, it might show up in this project. And I don't know, the idea of that kind of made me uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, let me see how to disable that. And it turns out that the way to disable that is actually pretty simple. So let's zoom out of this and come here. So what you have to do is so you type IPython, basically this command. I entered it previously. So this is an environment, a virtual environment that I've set up for this Python project. And within this environment, I've installed IPython. And that's why I'm able to just call IPython like this. So you type IPython profile create. This creates a new profile. I don't know exactly what all a profile entails so far because I just recently learned about this. I need to read up about it. I need to read up on it more. Gemini has like a bunch of information for me. I just didn't get around to reading the entire thing because I was in a rush to start the stream. So yeah, you create the profile. Once you do create the profile, I need to be careful here. IPython. Right. So within your IPython folder, within profile default, you're going to find this kind of a file, ipython underscore config.py. I believe it also shows you the path. Yeah, it does. It does show you the path when, like, if you look at the previous command, it does show you the path where it creates it. Now, you open up this, and in here, you look for this specific. You look for this specific command, this specific line. And then you uncomment it. It's going to be commented by default. You uncomment this and set the value to false. It's going to be true by default. You set the value to false. And that's it. Oh, you also need to delete there's going to be an SQLite file in this, within this folder, within this profile underscore default folder, this one. Within profile underscore default, you're going to have this kind of a folder. How do I show you? I think I did install trash CLI, right? Okay, so we're gonna grab the thing here and then cd. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Great, cool. So, within this, I have to do, I believe, trash restore. Okay, so this is the file you are looking for. I'm just gonna quit this because I don't need to restore the file. The file you're looking for is the one on top. It's called history.sqlite. So you just delete that file. If you delete that file and then restart your IPython, it's not going to have any of the suggestions, the previous suggestions, because you've deleted the SQLite file. But then setting that variable that I told you to set, hold on, setting this value to false prevents it from recreating a new file. And so because of that, you're not going to have history, auto-completion history persisting across multiple projects. And yeah, that's it. Now, the good thing is that it doesn't affect the tab completion thing. At least so far, I'm hoping that it doesn't affect the tab completion. I guess we'll find out how true that is. Let me zoom in here. Dude, I love how there's like millions of there's like a billion shortcuts that 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 you have to use while navigating through NeoVim and tmux and Yahtzee and like a bunch of these different TUI based apps. And I love how I don't need to remember any of them because after doing them a couple of times, they just become muscle memory. So it's not even like, oh shit, I have to remember this, I have to remember that. What if I forget something? No, I'm not going to forget it because, and this isn't even like something specific to me or something special in me. No, it's just muscle memory. You do it a couple of times and eventually you just get it. This is one of the reasons why if somebody is looking to learn NeoVim and they're kind of concerned that they're going to have to remember a billion shortcuts, don't worry about it. Just first things first, don't try to learn all of NeoVim, all of like the shortcuts and all of that stuff. Don't try to learn all of that in one go. Learn the basics, which will of course involve some shortcuts because the entire NeoVim, at least the basics, the entirety of it is it's meant to be keyboard centric. Your hand is almost never supposed to touch your mouse. It's supposed to be primarily keyboard based. So wait, give me a second. Okay, so right. So what was I saying? Yeah, it's meant to be keyboard, primarily keyboard based. It's supposed to be a keyboard centric workflow. So you're not going to find yourself touching the mouse a whole lot. Why exactly was I talking about it being keyboard centric? Well, yeah, okay. So you start by learning the basics of using NeoVim, very basic stuff, and then just jump into using it. Start using it to take notes of stuff. Start using it to edit text documents that you have, simple text documents. Don't open up like MS Word kind of stuff. Um, Simple text documents. I have a bunch of simple text documents that I use for various purposes. You can also open up like, I mean, once you set up LazyVim and some kind of, Python or Rust or C Sharp coding environment within LazyVim, once you've set that up, then you can also just jump into coding. But the point is, jump into it. Just start doing stuff. And as you start doing stuff, you're going to run into problems. And to solve those problems, you're going to do research and then you're going to learn something. And as far as shortcuts are concerned, you might make a mistake initially, right? You might not remember something, or um, you might be confused about something, so you might have to look it up. But then once you do it a couple of times, it's just going to start to become muscle memory. It's just going to come to you. And then the more you use it, the more you practice, it's just gonna stick with you. So you don't even have to remember. You just have the muscle memory. For me, it's more like I don't even need to think about what the key press is, as in what keys I'm pressing. I just know that, okay, these are the keys that I have to press. I don't really think about the key map. What exactly am I meant to be pressing, if that makes sense? Anyways, okay, enough praising my ability to remember NeoVim and tmux shortcuts. Where was I here? So I'm hoping that it doesn't impact. Okay, so it doesn't impact this, right? We do have the tab completion. What we don't have is that ghost completion thing, which kind of auto completes. So, for example, it would have said, it would have completed. Let's say I typed in something like this, and it knows that one of the possible suggestions is str01 or str01. So it would kind of autocomplete that, but like in like a ghost kind of text. It would autocomplete that to maybe something like this, or maybe it might autocomplete the value. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that. But yeah, it would autocomplete all of this in like ghost text, and that's not gonna be there. If you want that to be there, you have to hit the right arrow key, I believe, and then it fills that in for you. That being said, I don't really need that. I'm okay with this. I don't need that ghost filling in thing. I don't know what it's called, so I can't really give the accurate name for that. Wait, actually, I was having a conversation with Gemini about this earlier. Also, something I'm super happy to have discovered was that hold on, I need the. Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Wait, yeah, we have the image here. So something I was really happy to discover is that, uh, first of all, I learned that, yeah, you can use shell commands within IPython itself, right? So then I was like, okay, what if I try to launch iCat, which is a kitty kitten? Um, what if I try to launch that from IPython, because it's basically one of the shell commands as well, or it's basically one of those things that we would be running in the shell. So my main concern wasn't that it's not going to find the thing. Kind of, I was concerned about that as well. But my main concern was whether it would be able to display the image. And the answer is yes, it does display the image. So that that significantly reduces the complexity for me, because now we can do everything within this. Don't worry about the thing being broken up. It's just if I rerun the command, then everything will be fine. Wait, I just realized that the up and down thing is not working. Does that rely on the history thing? Though no, how would that rely on? Okay, either way, whatever. Oh, you know what? No, let me ask. Okay, I went with your idea of creating a new profile, not a separate one. And also, wait, creating a new profile, not a separate one. Setting the, no, disabling the history manager, and also deleting the SQLite file. Now, I'm wondering, does IPython have that thing similar to the Python interpreter, where if you hit the up arrow key, it'll show the previous command? Or did I also kill that feature by disabling? Man, I love this keyboard. Ever since I got this keyboard, shout out to my mom, ever since, and my uncle who suggested getting this keyboard for me. Ever since I got this keyboard, I've been trying to use this keyboard as much as possible. Like, I realized that I like these kinds of keyboards that are more spread out, a lot more than the compact keyboards. Even though I've been trying my best to get compact keyboards whenever I can, I kind of prefer the spread out ones because it's so much easier to type on them. My fingers can just spread all over them and type very easily. On the compact keyboards, it's not as fluid. I mean, I can still type fast there, but like I'm just so much more comfortable with the wider keyboards. And there's also the way that these keys are. These are like, I don't know. Apparently, these are called ghosting or anti-ghosting keys. I have no idea what that means and what that entails, but these keys are deep. Like you have to press them a little bit. They have a bit of depth to them, and I don't know, something about typing on those kinds of keys. It just appeals to me. I like that. Okay, now, um, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was typing in. Okay, so or did I also kill that feature by disabling um, history manager? That's an excellent follow-up question. It touches on a key distinction between IPython's persistent history and its in-session command line editing features. Disabling History Manager and deleting the history.sqlite file will not kill the up arrow feature in the same way that in the same way you're used to from a standard Python interpreter. From a standard Python interpreter. Here's why. IPython's interactive shell, the up arrow, down arrow, control R, which is reverse search. Control R. Search backwards. Okay. Did that find something? Like, what is it? Where are the results being displayed? Some str01. Where are the results getting displayed? Okay. Try this. Yeah, it's not finding it. Okay. The up arrow, down arrow, control R, and other command line editing shortcuts are part of IPython's core interactive shell. This functionality is handled by a separate component, specifically the prompt toolkit library that manages the current session's input and line editing. I love that. I love the fact that they've separated the two. In session history, even with the history manager disabled, IPython still maintains an in-memory history for the current session. Dude, actually, okay, I just realized something and I need to talk about this. So I do this thing where I record little tidbits of knowledge. I'll explain what I mean by record. I record little tidbits of knowledge, mainly for myself, but I also post it online in case it can help someone else. Mainly, I'm recording it for my own future reference. When I say record here, what I mean is I write it down and make a social media post out of it, and I'll put in keywords, specific keywords that would help me find that post in the future. Um, Previously, when I was using Twitter, I would post it on Twitter, but I stopped using Twitter a while back, or rather, I don't really use it as much as I used to, or at least for my coding and creative stuff. I don't use Twitter for that anymore. There are other things that I use Twitter for, mainly to get some information and news and stuff like that. So I still use Twitter in that regard, but like I don't really post on Twitter anymore. My main platforms that I'm posting on currently, as of 1st of August 2025, are well, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, and I do also want to continue posting on both of my YouTube channels. And well, the third YouTube channel is my Demkeys VODs channel, which is well, I post my VODs there anyways. So that I'm these are the platforms that I'm active on. I was considering looking into Blue Sky as well, but I'm gonna be honest. What I want to do there is automate the whole thing. I don't want to, how do I say this? I don't want to go onto the platform to post. I want to be able to post directly from some kind of, and there apparently there is a TUI based app for Blue Sky, which I'm going to look into. But yeah, I want to kind of automate the posting on there because currently I'm mainly focusing on posting on TikTok and Threads. Most of my thoughts that I want to post, I'll post it on TikTok and then post it on Threads as well. Um, why was I saying this? Oh yeah, the future reference posts. I call them future reference posts, and I usually include certain keywords that'll help me find those posts in the future. But I noticed that the search functions on many of the platforms don't they don't always work that well. On Twitter, it worked pretty well in the past, but then once they started doing their whole paid model, they kind of pushed aside or they started burying people who were not paying for Twitter. So if you're not paying for Twitter, then possibly your posts aren't even gonna appear in the search results. I've had that happen with my own account, where my own posts that I was searching for, even if I put my Twitter handle in the search, and then I put in those keywords that I'm looking for, even then, there's a chance that it's not going to show my posts. It kind of prioritizes the people that are paying for it. So the moment I start paying for it, suddenly I'm going to start appearing in search results, and I'm gonna my comments are going to be shown in more people's posts and stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's a lost cause. Doing it on Twitter is a lost cause unless I'm willing to pay for it, which currently I don't really see. I don't really see the value because I'm not really getting a whole lot out of it by paying for it. At some point later, if I do start seeing value in it, then I might pay for it. But currently, that's just not happening. So Threads, for those of you who don't know, it's basically Twitter, but by Meta, by the creators of Facebook and Instagram, and it's great. It's a nice environment. I like it, and they've been working super hard with adding a bunch of different features to it. Um, it's basically Twitter. What I mean by that is that it's a text-based thing. So it's not like it's not necessarily like TikTok, which is primarily video-based. It's this is meant to be text and image-based stuff. So you can post text, you can post images, you can post videos. Um, there's a couple of other things that you can also post. I don't remember all the details, but yeah, it's great. I've been using it for a while, and uh, in terms of text-based posting, it's one of my primary things that I use. Okay, so I started doing my future reference posts on there because the Twitter thing wasn't working out that well, right? Turns out that even on Threads, I have the same issue. For whatever reason, I have the same issue. I don't know if their search algorithm is just not as good as Twitter's. Um, Maybe it might improve in the future. Maybe I'll have to make a feature request for the future. I don't know. I have made posts. I've made future reference posts on there, and I was hoping to make this my knowledge base kind of thing. But then when I tried searching for it, it just didn't pop up in the search results. So I would have to go to my own profile and scroll all the way back to see previous posts, and that just defeats the purpose of creating the future reference post I'm if I'm not able to find it. And like, if I'm not able to find it, then how do I know that other people are even able to see these posts? You get what I'm saying? Like, it kind of, it doesn't make sense. So I was like, you know what, I need a different location where my entire knowledge base is going to be stored. So the first thing I wanted to do is have a TUI based app that would that I could make these entries in. I'm going to show you an example over here. Actually, not an example. I'm going to show you the actual thing. So let me open up Yahtzee. Let's go to a new tab. Wait, I forgot what the um tab. Close tab is Control C, I think. Okay, let's, yeah, okay, that works. So yeah, create a new tab, and in here, um, I need to be careful with this. Holy shit, I just realized I need to be very careful with this. Yeah, I need to be, holy shit, I need to be super careful with what I'm doing there. Give me a second. Okay, so we are back. What I did was incredibly careless because there is some data that, I'm not entirely comfortable with sharing, and I just casually strolled into this directory. Well, not this directory, but the parent directory, and started scrolling through the thing. But anyways, okay. So here, um, so there's an application called TUI Journal. No, tjournal. Well, actually, it's called TUI journal, but to open it up, you use the tjournal command. Um, so there's this, and then we also specify a config file because I've set up a config file with certain settings. This is great. It's an amazing app. Shout out to the creator. This is the application. You can create your own journal entries. Actually, you know what I should have done? Let's quit this and let's just let's not do it here. Hold on. Let's create a new thing, go back, and yeah, let's do it here. Okay. tjournal, so I can show you guys. So this is what it is. How do I delete? Yeah, okay. So this is TUI journal. You can use it to create, well, journal entries. And this is a purely TUI based application. There's no GUI involved. The entire thing is Rust based. It's written in Rust. You create your journal entry, let's say some entry '01. You can also set a date when it's, I don't know if you can change the date. I think you can. Input contains invalid characters. Let's try a previous date. Okay, a previous date seems to work, but anything past the current date doesn't seem to work. So anyways, I usually don't set a different date. I don't really care about the date either. I mean, to a certain extent I care. I also don't set the priority. I do set tags. So let's say I wanted to set something to talk about .NET on NeoVim using C# ls, and also this has to do with IntelliSense. So I'll add these tags, and if I create a new entry, just so I can show you the new entry. So you can look up there. Each of the tags has like, they're also color coded, which I felt like that was a interesting feature. And yeah, you can edit the contents of this journal. You have a simple editor here, but you can also edit the journal in your favorite editor. In my case, it's Vim. So like you can specify an external text editor to edit the stuff. So here I can just say this is a journal entry. So when you save this, it saves it to a temp file, and when you close NeoVim, you have to come here and then save this so that it writes whatever is in that temp file to this entry and then saves this. Now, this entire thing, this entire journal database, which, it includes multiple journals, this entire database, it can be stored in two forms, which I love the fact that they provided both those forms. One is a database form. I think it's an SQLite database. I'm not sure. But yeah, one is a database form and one is a JSON form. And that's really useful because I'm planning on doing stuff with the JSON data. That was the whole plan. That was one of the reasons why I was looking into something like, a journal entry thing. It was important to me that I could export that entire database in some form that I can then parse later on with another program. So here's the idea that I had. I'm going to maintain this journal thing, this I'm calling it a knowledge base. I'm going to maintain this knowledge base, and I showed you guys the other knowledge base thing that I actually, wait, we can exit this and we can go to this tab and open up tjournal here with the config file. Yeah, so far I have these journal entries. I've made 3, and there's actually a couple more that I have to make as well. One is for C# IntelliSense with the C# language server and NeoVim. That was a whole mess for me to clear up. It wasn't a mess on the part of the tool developers. It was a mess on my system because over the years I'd installed .NET in various ways, and that, well, installed and uninstalled in various ways, sometimes in some very unconventional ways, and that just created a whole mess of .NET related directories and files all over my file system. So it created a situation where if there was a tool, let's say a language server like C# language server, that was looking for a binary or even a directory in a specific location, it might find something else there. It might not find what it's looking for, or any any other problems could arise. Basically, it's just not going to find what it's looking for, and so the plugin or the program or whatever is not going to function properly. And in this case, that was the C# language server. It wasn't functioning properly because I had a whole mess of this stuff. So I had to go through my entire system and delete anything, wipe out anything .NET related. Also, before that, uninstall any .NET related packages, be it from Snap, be it from the apt repository, be it from, I don't know if dpkg is from like a different thing, but like usually when you install something from apt, I think you would be able to find the packages using dpkg. But yeah, they're whatever methods you've used. Oh, there's also the installer script, which honestly, just go with that. Believe me, in this case, just go with that. Their installer script is amazing. You just you download it using a curl command. They give you the entire command as well. You download it. I think you have to do chmod to change the permissions on it. Give it make it executable basically, and then you run the install script using certain arguments, using certain parameters. So in my case, what I found to be useful is specifying the channel, not specifying latest version, because for some reason, when I tried to install the latest version, it didn't install .NET 9. It installed .NET 8, 8 or 8 point something. So I'm not entirely sure like what's going on there. I don't know if .NET 9 hasn't like officially released, or um, I don't know if when I say latest version, it downloads the latest LTS version, which would, yeah, it would be .NET 8, I guess. Either way, I wanted 9. And so in this case, I had to specify channel 9, and it did that. And once you do that, it's going to install .NET, and .NET is then good to go. You also need to make certain entries in your bash rc file to specify that, hey, these directories are where you can find .NET related stuff, and then you're good to go. So yeah, okay. Anyways, enough of that. Then there's also RTMP. Holy shit, I never finished writing this. Yeah, I need to write this. I need to set up the. I need to write the entire setup for the RTMP server using SRS. It's not an entire setup. It's just I just need to write down pointers that, hey, this is the binary that you want to use when you are trying to start SRS by specifying a config file, because there are two separate binaries. One of them accepts command line arguments. Actually, no, one of them accepts a different set of command line arguments, and the other accepts a different set of arguments. One of them is just like a very bare bones one. It just has like start, restart, status, and stuff like that. And the other one is a little more sophisticated, where you can specify when it's starting, which config file it should be using. And that's kind of what you want to do when you start an RTMP server. You want to be able to specify an RTMP config file so that the SRS server is going to start, in that mode. So all of that information I need to write down. Now, all of this stuff that I've told you, you can imagine I would need a place to write this down. I would need a place to store this. And so far, the two social media sites that I tried to store it on, which is Twitter and Threads, unfortunately, both of them failed me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own site and post it on there. So my idea is this. GitHub allows you to host one website, from what I understand, at least one website. I don't know if somehow there's a way to get more in there, but at the very least, you can host one website. They'll give you a domain as well. it would be like a github.io domain. So in my case, it would be demkeys.github.io, and then my entire whatever site I'm trying to host, it'll be hosted there. I want to use that, but I don't want to use that solely for the knowledge base. I want to set up a GitHub website for myself. Now, keep in mind, actually, I need to keep this in mind as well. GitHub sites are limited to static stuff. It's meant to be a static website. It's not meant to be something that's going to have code that's executing on the server side. These are meant to be static web pages. I don't know to what extent you're allowed to execute code on the client side. I'm going to have to do some research on that. But that's the plan. Well, the plan is not to execute code on the client side. That sounds so shady. No, the plan is to set up a static website. And in terms of the knowledge base, what I want to do is, the idea that I had was, I would have separate pages. I'll have like one directory, which is the knowledge base directory. And then there's going to be one page for each journal entry. I'm not going to enter these manually. I'm going to write a script that pulls the data from the JSON string, because this data it's one long JSON string. Let me see if I can show it to you guys. This is the data. Can I open this up in Vim? Okay, it's not pretty print, so it's not going to show it. And what if I try to open this with Data? Though Data, I would require a separate. Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, I can't show it here. Well, you guys can see it here. These are the entries on the right side. You can see the entries. There's that first entry with the information. There's an ID. There's a date. There's a title. The content itself, and of course tags as well. So this is great because this means that I can parse this information and generate. I can generate entire web pages out of this data, and that's what I plan to do. I'm gonna basically pull all of this information and generate one web page per entry, and I'm also gonna have a sort of system in place to check if the data that's currently being, like, okay, every time so I'm gonna have a Python script that's gonna run through this entire JSON string, and then it's gonna create a list of names, or it's gonna get the list of, I guess we can get the list of titles. Yeah, we can get each of the titles and create a list out of it, and then compare it to what we currently have in the website's pages, what pages we currently have. I can keep track of that, and then whatever we don't have, if there's an entry that doesn't have a corresponding web page, then we can generate a web page out of that and store that, and then also update. I can have like a database on the website itself. So yeah, I have a plan to sort of automate the creation of this knowledge base website. And the plan is that I'm gonna host it on that GitHub website, and hopefully at some point, I don't know how well this is gonna work out, but hopefully at some point, I'm gonna be able to just do a Google search and type, let's say, I don't know, Demkeys knowledge base, future reference, IntelliSense, and then it's gonna point to my website. I'm hoping that's gonna be the case. And even better, forget about typing in Demkeys. Maybe if somebody types in, this is like a long shot, right? I would have to fight a lot of other people's SEO to get to get up there. But imagine somebody typing in, C# IntelliSense with C# LS, and imagine my thing popping up in the search results. Now, my main thing is, like, I don't care if my stuff pops up for other people. I want it to pop up for me, because I'm creating this knowledge base at the very least for myself, but I'm also sharing it for other people. Now, I also want to try and implement a search feature. I'm going to try and implement the search feature Let's see if I'm able to what extent I'm able to create a sort of simple search function that'll allow people to just search for tags on that knowledge base website, and then it'll bring up these entries. It I'm going to be fully honest here. That entire thing, if it does succeed, the whole search function and all, it's all going to be vibe coded. I'm not going to take the time to build that shit from scratch. I'm being 100% honest here. I'm not going to take the time to build that from scratch. Also, the website itself, I've been doing research on two things: static site generators and theming engines. More specifically, I'm looking into the Pelican static site generator library because it's Python based. Oh yeah, I should also mention I'm mainly looking for primarily Python based stuff. So Pelican was one of the things that came up. There's a couple of others as well, but Pelican is one of the things that came up. And in terms of custom themes, because it does allow custom themes, it supports it through what was that called? There was a custom theming engine. I forgot what it's called. Hold on. Let me let me take a look at my mind map. Just a second. I'd written it down somewhere here. Research GitHub sites. Check Gemini node for details. Um, just a second. Just a second. Where was it? I'd written it. I'd written it down somewhere here. Ginger. Yeah, it's called Ginger. I don't know if it's Ginger or it's meant to be Ginger. Um, I don't know. But yeah, that's what it's called. It's called Ginger. It's apparently it's a templating engine. So initially my mind was just connecting when I would read templating engine, my mind would just connect it to themes, like custom themes. But then when I read about it more, I was like, hold on. This doesn't have to be limited to just themes. It can be a template for anything. Technically, this engine would allow you to define rules for creating a template for anything. It doesn't have to be just themes, right? In my case, though, it's going to be mainly themes because Pelican supports theming through Ginger. So yeah, I'm gonna be using that just to give the site a little bit of a look, just so it doesn't look like plain text. But it's still gonna be very bare bones. I'm not really gonna go crazy with the aesthetics. But yeah, that's the idea. I forgot how we got to this point where, holy shit, I've been streaming for almost an hour and I have not hydrated once. So give me a second. Let me hydrate. Okay, so um, after right, so this is Kokoro TTS. I wrote down all of this stuff. So yesterday, I was thinking about this, right? Because, um, dude, if I want to move forward with streaming more often, I don't want it to be just mute streams, dude. I want it to be TTS based, and especially with my more keyboard centric workflow now. Yo, Sama, welcome to the stream, man. How are you doing? Hello, hello. Is that what it was called? SQ27? No, it was called, we changed it to Chaos. I think so. Yeah, we changed it to chaos, I think. Also, yeah, thank you for the posture check and stretch. I just hydrated. Give me a second. Let me get up and stretch, and then I'll continue talking. Hydrate again? Sure, I can take a sip. Give me a second. Okay, now here's the thing. Now here's the thing. Okay. Um, what was I saying? Yeah. So, you guys can see the mind map here. Dude, I love the fact that I have this mind map now. You guys should definitely try using mind map tools, especially if you are like me and your thoughts constantly branch out. Um, you should definitely look into using mind maps. It has helped me so much, like an insane amount. So, what I was saying was, um, I definitely need to set up my own TTS system. Kokoro TTS is an amazing, I mean, amazing TTS system. It's an amazing TTS model. It has a bunch of different options as well. It has a bunch of different voices. Each one has like different qualities, or each one is a different quality in terms of how well it's able to synthesize the text into audio. What was I saying? Yeah, it also supports different a couple of different languages. Fortunately, in this case, I'm mainly doing English, so I should have much better quality in that regard. But like the other models as well, they do have sufficient data to have good quality results for the other languages as well. But for English, it's just a lot more. Now, all that being said, just running Kokoro TTS by itself is going to be a tiny bit slow. But the best part is that it's not that slow. The thing, like, it could take 3 seconds, 4 seconds, maybe, to synthesize one sentence into audio, and then present you with that audio, right? I want it to be faster. I want it to be a little faster than that. I want to try and make it maybe 2 seconds. If everything goes well, maybe 1 second. I'm not entirely sure how doable 1 second is, but if I'm able to take, let's say, a 5 to 7 second delay down to 2 to 3 seconds, holy shit, holy shit, that is gonna be epic. That is gonna be insane. The only way that I'm gonna be able to do that is, I think I've written this down elsewhere as well. Yeah, yeah. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me look at my other mind map. There was project ideas. I believe under project ideas, I had done a stream AI voice app. Yeah, I'd written it down here. Simple app, multi-threaded app, and distributed app. So I have the thing written down over here. Uh, Now, just to show you guys, give me a second. I'm moving tabs around. I need to be so careful here because you guys cannot see this, okay? But I'm so what you see on stream is tmux, right? Tmux is running in one of the kitty tabs because I'm SSH'd into this into the remote machine. I'm SSH'd into this machine from where I'm streaming, like, how do I say this? The machine on which the tmux session is actually running, that's not the machine that I'm streaming from, right? I'm streaming the feed from that machine to my Windows machine, and then I'm streaming to Twitch from the Windows machine. Here's the interesting part. I'm not controlling that machine, the machine on which the tmux session is running. I'm controlling it from another machine. So I'm SSH'd into this machine from that machine, and that's how I'm controlling it. So the SSH session is running in one kitty tab, and then there's a bunch of other kitty tabs as well in this terminal. So like you guys can't see those other tabs. What you can see is the tmux session, because that's the only thing that's open here. But like I need to be careful with like what pops up. But yeah, anyways, so uh what should I call it? Versions, modes, um or types. Yeah, let's call it types. Simple app, multi-threaded app, and then distributed app. Now, here's some possibilities, right? One possibility is the purely Python based approach. Okay, let's create this thing here. Possibilities. One possibility is purely Python. The other possibility is Python plus Rust. And another possibility is purely Rust. Okay. Now, if we do the purely Python method, we can use multiprocessing, and we can use PyTorch model as is, right? We can use multiprocessing. Let me edit this for multi-threading. That's the whole point of using multiprocessing. So we can use multiprocessing for multi-threading, right? That was an idea that I had initially because that'll allow us to stay within Python itself, and because multi-threading in Python is not true multi-threading, so that's why we are using multiprocessing, so we can have separate processes that'll actually be separate threads that would handle all of these, different that would handle all of these different tasks. Okay, then so this would be okay. Now, if we are going with the purely Python approach, we would have the simple app would be super simple. This is a very useless comment that I'm making here. Multi-threaded. Okay, I should change this. Multi-threaded app would use multi-processing. And then a distributed app would have multiple clients. Multiple clients running on, or, well, should I call them clients or workers? Or maybe nodes? Would have multiple nodes. Let's say multiple nodes running on separate machines across the network. Um, Model could be PyTorch or Onyx. Right. So that's our purely Python approach. If we decided to go with the purely Python approach, then we have Python plus Rust. Um, so we can say same as above. Though, okay, would it be same as above? Because okay, here's what I was thinking. Right, we're gonna have one main application. Definitely, we're gonna have one main application that's gonna be running um, on. Wait, just a second. My internet is misbehaving. Give it a second, let it stabilize, and then I'll continue. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. So the other approach that we could use is Python plus Rust, and the idea that I had for that was something like this. This is going to be like if we are doing the Python plus Rust approach, I feel like it's mainly going to be distributed, the distributed app. Sorry, zoned out. Yeah, I feel like it's mainly going to be the distributed app. Um, what should we call? So let's say main node would would be Python, or let's say main server would be Python. Worker nodes would be Rust. The thing is, this would require Onyx. We, well, I mean, we could try using. Actually, I kind of want to test this out because there is a library on. Wait, yeah. Could try using tchrs to run the PyTorch model. So we could try because there is a library called tchrs, which is it's basically Rust bindings for PyTorch. So it allows you to use the PyTorch library, but in Rust, and it's bindings because it's using the C++ library of PyTorch. So I need to see to what extent that would allow us to run the Kokoro TTS model directly in in Rust. However, I am leaning more towards the Onyx thing. So, okay, that's Python plus Rust. Then we have, um, sorry, holy shit, I keep zoning out. Then we have purely Rust based, which, here's the thing. If I did this purely Rust based, I would be able to handle multi-threading so much better. Though the thing is, Yeah, yeah. I would be able to handle multi-threading so much better. I would be able to if I did okay, so if I did purely Rust base, um probably only Onyx. But again, we could also try this. That's not what I meant to do. Let's how do wait, there. That's what I meant to do. Okay. So we could try using the PyTorch model. Um, what else? Server. I haven't really thought about this a whole lot. So the main server would be Rust, and it would need to handle getting text. I don't think I'm gonna do this though. If I'm being honest, I might not do this because I kind of like the idea of it being like we have a Python. The main server is in Python, and then we have the worker nodes in Rust because those are going to be running the Onyx models. Actually, another reason I wanna focus on Onyx is because multi-threading is kind of automatically handled within the Onyx runtime, and also the Onyx runtime on Rust is thread safe. So I could start up multiple threads and just like dispatch, or well, I could start up multiple threads and just use one Onyx runtime object, and it would accept all of that input and then dispatch the work however it sees fit. And then once we get that information back, then we have to send it back to the server as well. So the server is going to send in text, and we're gonna process the text and then send information back. Now, what we could do here is to reduce the load on the server and mainly make the nodes do all the work, which in this case I have three machines that I could run the nodes on, and then I have my main server. Um, if we manage to pull that off, if we manage to pull that off, um, I could make the entire server. I think it's a good idea for me to make the entire the main server. I think it's a good idea for me to make it Python based because I am not well versed enough in Rust to where I would feel comfortable with building the entire application in Rust. I feel like I would do a bad job with it, or not as good of a job as I could. Yeah, I feel like I might make a mess out of it. On the other hand, it could be a nice challenge and I will get to learn quite a bit by trying to build this entire thing in Rust. I also want to incorporate a TUI element in this. Yeah, I also want to incorporate a TUI element in this. As in, I want to build a TUI. So I want the application, regardless whether it's Python or Rust. Fortunately, both of them have TUI libraries, multiple, in fact, TUI libraries. Um, but yeah, I want to, regardless whether I'm using Python or Rust for the main server, I want to have TUI set up there. I want to have TUI for the server, maybe not necessarily um, for the nodes, but definitely for the server. I feel like that would be a fun project. But yeah, okay. So if we are, so like, dude, I'm trying to think about how I would go about doing this in Rust. If I did do it purely Rust based, how would I go about doing this in Rust? Because this seems like something that it needs. as much resources as it can get. But like, I don't know if I'm comfortable enough with Rust to be able to take on the whole, like setting up the entire system. I need to sit down and I mean, I did sit down and write down the entire system. I think I did sit down and write down the entire system because the idea, at least from what I remember, it was in a Kaggle notebook. I don't want to open up the notebook right now, but at least from what I remember, the idea was we have a separate application, which at this point I think I'm going to make it a just a terminal based application or maybe even a TUI based application. We have a separate application which is going to be um, the essentially the message sender, the chat box kind of thing, the thing that we send the chat message from. Sorry, zoned out. Okay, so we're gonna have one application which is gonna be a really simple application that just sends the data over WebSockets. That's gonna be a really simple Python application, right? Then we have the server that receives this data and then starts processing it. So we we take the received input and then we divide it up and find a way to dispatch it to the workers. Additionally, we could be running a node. Actually, I think I like this idea. I think I like this idea. I don't think I'm gonna spend time. Yeah, dude, should I spend time working on the simple version first, and then the multi-threaded version, and then the distributed version? Because the distributed version is going to be like a completely different architecture. It's going to be like multiple applications running. Um, okay, so first thing I need to do is develop the main component, which is, well, not the main component, the common component, which is going to be our message sender, right? That's going to be simple. That's going to be a universal thing across all three different types of apps. That's going to be a universal thing. Um, then we have the server, which I'm going to start with Python. Okay, I'm going to build the thing, and I feel like I should only do the TUI once I have established the final thing that I'm going to be using. Because if I know that I'm not going to be using, I know I'm not going to be using the simple app, right? I'm building the simple app just to kind of get things out of the way. Like, okay, here, I did it. It's done. Now let's move on to the more complex, the more sophisticated version. That's the whole idea with the simple app. Because the simple app is not going to perform that well. And the whole idea behind the whole reason why I'm working on the multi-threaded app and the distributed app is because I know that the simple app is not going to perform that well, right? Sorry, I forgot what I was saying there. What was I saying? Where was I going with this? I'm losing my train of thought. Give me a second. Just a second. Let me hydrate and then we'll continue. Okay. Now, what was I saying? Yeah, I feel like I shouldn't build the TUI I shouldn't build the TUI until I've reached the final version. And I feel like I'm not just going to be using the multi-threaded version. I'm going to be using the distributed version. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be using the distributed version. So I can build the multi-threaded version. It's going to be I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into it just to later abandon it. But I'm going to build it just so I can like see what it's like for multiple threads to be used. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I wanna I wanna use Onyx models in Python. I understand that there is an Onyx runtime implemented for Python. What I'm wondering is, since Python is not truly multi-threaded, how well would multi-threading of the Onyx runtime work in Python? That's an excellent and a very important question. It gets to the heart of how Python interacts with the underlying C, C++ libraries and how to get the best performance out of them. You are correct that Python's GIL, Global Interpreter Lock, prevents multiple Python threads from executing Python bytecode at the same time. This is a common bottleneck for CPU-bound tasks in Python. However, Onyx Runtime is not a Python-only library. Okay, that is something I didn't know. I thought it was I thought like the Onyx Runtime that we were looking at was like a purely Python implemented thing, which wouldn't really give you the best performance. So I don't know why I even thought that. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it kind of sounds stupid. Either way, that's what I thought. Um, it is primarily implemented in C++ and has a Python API that allows you to use it. This is key to understanding its multi-threading behavior. Here's a breakdown of how multi-threading with Onyx runtime works in Python and why it can be highly effective despite the GIL. The Onyx runtime's threads versus Python's GIL. The Onyx runtime's core operations, such as running a model for inference, are CPU-intensive tasks. The C++ code that performs these calculations is what truly benefits from multi-threading. When you call a function, oh wait, okay, so I'm guessing it has both interop and intraop multi-threading then? Like I'm guessing both of those things are going to work. When you call a function from the Onyx runtime Python API, example session.run, the Python thread acquires the GIL, calls the underlying C++ function, and then releases the GIL while the heavy computational work is being done by the C++ code. The Onyx runtime's own internal C++ thread pools then handle the parallel execution. This means that while the Onyx runtime is busy calculating, other Python threads are free to acquire the GIL and execute their own Python code, potentially making other calls to the Onyx runtime or other libraries that also release the GIL. You know what? This kind of changes things. This kind of changes things because, yeah, this kind of changes things a bit. And I'm also having this thought that why don't I go with the Python plus Rust approach? Because previously I was like, okay, I'm not entirely sure if I would be comfortable with building the entire server and the entire system in Rust. Like I'm more confident in my skills in Python. In Rust, I'm still fairly a beginner, so I would prefer to, you know, go with smaller projects as opposed to building an entire big thing and then that becomes a mess. That's not to say that my Python thing is not going to be a mess, but um, I just had the thought that, dude, why not? Because I mean, interoperability is possible between both of them. On one end, we are using, actually, on both ends, we are using WebSockets to communicate. So the interop is possible. They can both communicate easily. And I could build the entire server in Python. And if there's a Rust runtime, no, if there's an Onyx runtime that uses like the C++ libraries, I could technically also make the, actually, okay, I should do a bit of research on this. Like, what would be the difference between, or how quick would the Python Onyx runtime be as opposed to the Rust Onyx runtime? Let me try asking this question, but let me finish reading this first. So, other Python threads are free to acquire the GIL and execute their own Python code, potentially making other calls to the Onyx runtime or other libraries that also release the GIL. Onyx Runtime's internal multi-threading settings. The Onyx runtime gives you fine-grained control over its internal threading behavior. This is crucial for performance tuning. When you create an inference session, you can set session options to configure two main types of thread pools, intra-op and inter-op. Okay, yeah, fine, great. These are threads used to parallelize the operations within a single node of the model's computation graph. And then interop is threads used to parallelize the execution of the entire graph. If your model has multiple branches or independent operations that can be run at the same time, then interop threads can execute them in parallel. Oh, okay, yeah, that would be highly dependent on. I actually don't know the architecture of Kokoro TTS, so I don't know if it would have branches. I guess I mean other people have converted Kokoro TTS to Onyx, so I can probably look online to see the best settings that people have come up with. I'm sure other people have studied the Kokoro TTS architecture, so they can probably figure out, or they probably have figured out over time what the best settings are. By default, Onyx runtime often sets the number of threads to be equal to the number of available CPU cores, which allows you to take full advantage of your hardware. Practical implications and performance. Because Onyx runtime's heavy lifting happens outside of the Python interpreter, you can achieve significant speedups with multi-threading, especially for CPU-bound tasks. Parallel inferences. Dude, okay, so now I'm thinking about this, okay? Now I'm really thinking about this. Give me a second. Okay, now I'm really thinking about this. Um, shit. I forgot what I was thinking about. Yeah, now I'm really thinking about this. Like, if I'm building the server in Python, like, to be honest, the server isn't really doing a whole lot of heavy lifting. The server is mainly dispatching. Like, it receives the input, it splits up the input into, if the input needs to be split up, it splits up the input, and then it dispatches the input to the worker threads, right? In the case of the multi-threaded app, it's going to be dispatching it to its child processes. And in the case of the distributed app, it's going to be dispatching it to all the nodes that are connected, right? Now, the regardless whether it's the child processes or whether it's the worker nodes that are doing the work, they're going to do the work and they're going to send the information back. So they're going to receive the information over WebSockets, they're going to do the work on it, and then they're going to send the information back over WebSockets back to the server. Okay, great. The server is mainly supposed to do server work. It's not supposed to be processing, if that makes sense. It's not going to be doing any processing work. The main server is just going to be like dispatching work and then receiving stuff, and then it'll dispatch that stuff to the audio system, and then the audio system is going to decide when it wants to play. The audio system is going to be a separate thread. So regardless whether we are talking about the multi-threaded uh, app or the distributed app, the audio system is still going to be part of the server, and it's going to be running on a different thread. Yeah, the audio system is going to be running on a different thread, but it's going to be running as part of the server itself, right? So I'm not seeing a reason to make the entire server in Rust, especially since I'm like so much more comfortable with doing a bunch of these things that I'm talking about in in Python. I'm just so much more comfortable doing a lot of this in Python. Because the thing with Rust is Rust has like a set of rules that it follows, and one of the things that it very strictly follows is its borrowing system, its borrowing mechanism. So I have been in situations where I kind of ended up fighting with that a little bit. One of the reasons was because I was making mistakes because I didn't properly understand how to go about doing things. And I don't want to end up in that kind of situation when I'm trying to build a big system. Yeah. I don't want to end up in that kind of situation when I'm trying to build a big system. I could still try to, take 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 it as a challenge and try and build the system, like the entire thing in Rust. That would be super cool. That would actually be crazy if I was able to do that. But like if I want to be making progress, quick progress, um I feel like I'm going to be better off doing it in Python. I'm like super torn between whether I want to do it in Python or in Rust, whether I want to do the main. I mean, the worker nodes, if there are worker nodes, if you're talking about the distributed version, that's 100%. The nodes are 100% going to be Rust based. Um, oh, actually, no, hold on. Even the nodes could be Python based. I just realized that. Even the nodes could be Python based. They don't have to be Rust based. Like I could create Python worker nodes, and then the entire thing would just be Python based. It wouldn't be Rust based at all. Now, okay, I have to ask this question. Um, yeah, I'm gonna ask this question to Gemini. I'm just gonna read it out loud so you guys can hear it as well, and then I'm gonna read out the answer as well. Okay, let's say I have um, okay, let's say I have no. How do I want to phrase this? I want to know about the performance I'm gonna achieve in these scenarios. So let's say I have model A, which is a PyTorch model, and I run it using PyTorch in Python. Then I try to run it. Oh, I just realized something. If I want to try and run the PyTorch version of the Kokoro TTS model in Rust, I would have to implement the entire thing in Rust. Yeah, because it's not like Onyx. Because like when you export a model to Onyx, it exports the graph and the weights. But when you export a PyTorch model, generally it exports the weights only, not the model itself, unless you're exporting like unless you're doing the pickle thing, which they're kind of like phasing that out. Um, okay, fine. Let's ask the question anyways. Then I try to run it in Rust using tchrs. Which one would have the better performance? Um, to be honest, I don't really know how I would go about running a PyTorch model in Rust TCH without actually implementing the model architecture in Rust TCH first. Okay, next scenario. Let's say I take model A, which again is a PyTorch model, and convert it to Onyx. I then try to run it in Python Onyx runtime, and then try to run it in Rust Onyx runtime. Which one would have better performance? And of the four methods, overall, which one would have the best performance? Okay, this is an excellent set of questions that gets to the heart of model deployment and performance optimization. The answer isn't a simple X is always faster than Y. Yeah, I figured. As the best choice depends on your specific use case, model, and hardware. Here's a breakdown of the scenarios and an overall performance comparison. PyTorch in Python versus PyTorch in Rust. PyTorch in Python, this is your baseline. You're running the model using the standard Python bindings for the highly optimized C++ backend libtorch. Python itself introduces some overhead due to it being an interpreted language and having a garbage collector. But for a model's heavy numerical computations like matrix multiplications in a neural network, the work is offloaded to the C++ core or a GPU, where it's extremely fast. The Python code is primarily responsible for setting up the operations. Python and Rust. The tchrs crate is a set of Rust bindings for the same C++ libtorch library that PyTorch uses. The core numerical operations are identical to what you find what you'd find in the Python version. The key difference is the overhead of the host language. Rust is a compiled language known for its performance and memory safety. Performance comparison: for the actual computation of the neural network layers, the performance will be very similar, as both of them are using the same underlying C++ library. The main difference is the main difference in performance will come from the host language overhead. Rust's compiled nature means it has less overhead than Python's interpreter. This can lead to better performance in scenarios where the model is small, the batch size is small, or where there are a lot of pre-processing or post-processing steps that are not offloaded to libtorch. For large complex models with large batch sizes, the difference might be negligible, as the time spent in the C++ backend dominates the total runtime. How to run a PyTorch model in TCH Rust. You are right that you don't need to manually re-implement the model in Rust. You can use PyTorch's torch.jit.trace or torch.jit.script functions to convert your PyTorch model into a torch script file. This file contains serialized representations of your model's computation graph and its parameters. You can then load the torch script file directly into your Rust code using tchrs and run inference. Okay. Scenario 2. Onyx runtime. The Onyx runtime is a Scenario 2 is Onyx in Python versus Onyx in Rust. The Onyx runtime is a high-performance inference engine that can run models in the Onyx format. It is also written in a high-performance language, C++, and it provides bindings for many languages, including Python and Rust. Performance comparison. Similar to the PyTorch scenario, both the Python and Rust Onyx runtime bindings use the same highly optimized C++ core. The core performance of running the Onyx model will be very similar. The performance difference will, again, come from the overhead of the Python versus Rust host languages. In this scenario, Rust is generally expected to be faster due to its lower overhead. This is especially true for tasks that involve a lot of pre-processing or post-processing on the CPU, or when you are running a server that needs to handle many requests concurrently. Okay, 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 that's important. That's important. Okay. Overall performance ranking from best to worst. This is a generalization, and the results can vary significantly depending on the specific model, hardware, especially GPU versus CPU, and how the code is optimized. Rust Onyx runtime for deployment scenario. No, for a deployment scenario, this is often the winner. The combination of Rust's low-level zero-cost abstractions and the highly optimized C++ based Onyx runtime inference engine is extremely powerful. The Onyx format itself is designed for efficient inference, and the Onyx runtime includes various optimizations like graph fusion and quantization that can be applied to the model. Okay, Rust TCH. This is a very close second, and for some models, it might even outperform the Onyx runtime. Since TCH RS uses the exact same libtorch backend as PyTorch, its performance on the core model computation is top-notch. The main advantage over Python is the language level performance for everything surrounding the model inference. Dude, you know what? Okay, speaking of that, I don't think we are going to be processing nearly as much information at once that we would require to write the entire server in Rust. For some reason, I don't know why, like my mind does this every now and then. For some reason, my mind keeps going to that scenario that, okay, what if I only knew one of these languages? What if I didn't know, like, dude, I've been a programmer for close to 2 decades now, I think. Yeah, I've been a programmer for close to 2 decades now. So I know a couple of languages. My daily drivers are Python, Rust, and C Sharp. Rust, kind of, not all that much, but like, yeah, I'm trying to make it a daily driver, right? But yeah, my daily drivers are Python, Rust, and C Sharp. I have I have more than a decade's worth of experience in both Python and C Sharp, right? Yet I'm having this thought that, okay, what would I do in a scenario where I only knew one language and, you know, I didn't have this option. Right now, yeah, I have the option. I can do this in Rust. Dude, I even have the option to do this in C Sharp. There is a C Sharp Onyx runtime. I have the option to do it in C Sharp. I purposely chose to do it in Rust just so I have an excuse to work on something in Rust. Like, as crazy as that may sound, I purposely chose to do it in Rust just so I have an excuse to work in Rust. Just so I'll get, because I want to do more deep learning stuff in Rust. I want to use both Candle and Torch. Candle is interesting because Candle is a purely Rust based deep learning framework, and it's got like a bunch of stuff built like on top of it, so it gives you a bunch of like higher level stuff as well. But if you want to implement, if you want to build neural network architectures from scratch, it gives you the low level components as well, right? The main difference between Candle and Torch is that Candle is purely Rust based, whereas Torch, or TCH Rust, is um, it it's it provides Rust bindings for the PyTorch library, which is, or well, libtorch, which is a C++ library, or mainly a C++ library. I don't know. Let's say C++ library. I think it's just a C++ library. Either way, yeah, it provides bindings for that library. It's not purely Rust based. Candle is purely Rust based. So I wanna kind of learn both of these things. Dude, it would be super interesting if I did manage to set up the entire server in Rust. But yeah, okay. Wait, let's carry on with this, with reading this. So then we have the PyTorch Onyx runtime. This will often be faster than pure Python PyTorch for inference. Really? Okay. This is because the Onyx runtime is specifically designed and highly optimized for inference, and the conversion to Onyx can apply graph optimizations that make the model more efficient. Okay, PyTorch in Python. While excellent for training and rapid prototyping, Python's overhead can make it the slowest option for a pure inference scenario, especially with a small batch or on a CPU. No, especially with a small batch or on a CPU. Actually, okay, that's interesting that it mentions a small batch, because that's what we are planning on doing. Like, the whole idea is to break things up into smaller batches and then have those batches be processed, just so the inference will be faster. However, for a large model on a powerful GPU, the time spent in Python is often a small fraction of the total time, so performance difference can be minimal. So what I'm getting from this is that I should write the Python server in well, I should write the main server in Python, and I should write the worker nodes in Rust. But initially, we can set up the multi-threaded version of the app where the server does have these child processes that it can run these run the models on. But dude, I'm wondering if I should use Onyx in that scenario as well. I need to do some research. I need to hold on. Let me. Um, okay, we can get rid of this. Um, um, research. Actually, this should be at the top of the list. Kokoro TTS PyTorch versus Onyx performance. Okay, cool, great. Now, I do have this on my list. Actually, I don't have it on this list, but I'm I'm gonna relearn Rust, but this time I'm gonna also go into the advanced stuff. Also, because I know the basic syntax of Rust, I kind of don't want to go through the Rust book anymore. I want to try learning it through Gemini. So what I've done is I've created this massive, I don't know if I can paste it here. Hold on, I've created this massive prompt. Let me look for the prompt first. Hold on. Basics, use Gemini prompt. This is the Gemini prompt. I'm gonna, okay, so this is copied to my system's clipboard, right? If I try to paste this, let me try to paste this into a NeoVim buffer. And if that works, that means I can paste it to you guys as well. Okay, you are a tutorial creator. You are going to teach me Rust. I already know the basic syntax, so that part is covered. What I need to learn is everything after that. Start with generating. Okay. All right. That is done. So, um, I can show it to you guys here. I don't know how well it's gonna. Where am I posting this? I mean, it's just for the sake of showing you guys, right? So the prompt, I can just have anything. Yeah. So this is the prompt. Okay. You guys cannot see it. How do I I guess I can open up NeoVim here somewhere. Yeah, let's create a new window. Let's create NeoVim. Um, we can just open up the scratch buffer and drop it in there. Okay, let's also get rid of, yeah. So this is the entire prompt. Yeah, this is the entire prompt. This prompt is supposed to be, it's supposed to teach me Rust, or it's, well, the LLM is supposed to teach me Rust in like chapters. Let me see. Okay, let me try dropping this. Oh shit, I can't do this in, how do I do this? I was about to drop this into labs.perplexity.ai, but I can't do that because, well, one is running on one machine and the other is running on another machine. Um, yeah, I don't think I can. But anyways, this is my prompt. Uh, Basically, this is what I said. Okay, you are a tutorial creator. You are going to teach me Rust. I already know the basics. I already know the basic syntax, so that part is covered. What I need to learn is everything after that. Start by generating a list of chapters for everything you think I need to learn, going from basic to advanced. Number the chapters, print out this list. You will load the chapters one by one when instructed to do so. When a chapter is loaded, I want theory, an explanation, and then an exercise program for practice. The example program is very important, but something of equal importance is that it has to be incredibly simple and small program. It has to be an incredibly simple and small program because I only have 30 to 60 minutes a day to spend on learning Rust. This is true actually. Like that was one of the reasons why I set up this whole thing. It's because I don't really have all that much time to devote to learning Rust. When it comes to learning, I would prefer to just spend maybe an hour a day learning these chapters, and hopefully within, if I keep up with it, if I do it like every single day, uh, the 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 LLM, it seems to generate close to 16 chapters. So hopefully if I keep up with it and do one chapter every single day, um, it should be done in 2 weeks, close to 2 weeks. However, as we move to more and more advanced chapters, like past, I don't know, chapter 8 or chapter 10, things are going to get fairly advanced. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to finish a chapter in one day at that point. That being said, I can eventually be done with it in like 3 weeks. Or I could just, do half of it and then just start working on stuff. Once I feel like I'm ready to work on stuff with it, I can just quit and start working on Rust projects, and whatever else I need to learn, I'll learn it along the way. That's another thing I could do as well. Because I mean that's kind of how I've approached this. Uh, Pretty much from the start. I learned the basics of Rust, and then I tried to do stuff with it practically. I tried to do like example programs and stuff. So, anyways, okay, I can carry on reading with this. I want the program to be simple enough that I can do it in 30 to 60 minutes, but also good enough that I understand the concept I'm trying to practice. You respond to the following commands. I actually learned this from what was it called? The Google AI Studio, um, one of the programs that they had set up through prompts. I learned this through that. You respond to the following commands: change chapter, num, where num is the number, is the chapter number. This command will make you jump to the specified chapter. Example usage. I felt like I needed to provide an example so it'll understand. Example usage: change chapter 5. Will load chapter 5's theory, explanation, and example program. You will remain in a given chapter and talk to me about it for as long as I need. I hope your context window is big enough to remember this setup prompt. Keeping in mind that I have a tiny bit of prior knowledge in Rust, assuming that I know Rust syntax, but still create a chapter 0. What? Oh, assume that I know. Okay, I made a typo there. Assume that I know Rust syntax, but still create a chapter 0 with a bunch of Rust syntax related info to glance over the topic real quick. I think I meant to say gloss over the topic real quick. But yeah, glance, okay, whatever. Glance over the topic real quick. Go. So that's the prompt that I gave it, and I've run this a couple of times, and it's worked well. It's actually worked pretty well. I can't show it to you guys right now, unfortunately, because I mean I could try something. I could try something here. I believe I do have it typed out in my, no, you know what? Okay, let's open up that scratch buffer again and drop it there and do that. And now, just give me a second. Okay. Do I have the browser still open? Yes, I do. Great. Okay. So we're going to copy this entire thing and try to paste it into Gemini. Gemini.google.com. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I think I can show this. Yeah. Okay, so this is the prompt, and now it's working on this. So you might need to run this a couple of times if you don't like the way that Gemini has approached it. You could try dropping this into ChatGPT as well, and it's going to do just as well, if not better. Um, you can try running this prompt a couple of times until you get the until you get a format that you feel like you like. And I know for a fact that Gemini's context window is fairly long compared to what it was back in the day when Gemini was, pretty new. So it can remember this prompt for quite a while. And so even I think 20 messages down, if you say change chapter to so and so, it's probably going to remember that. But like I'm going to have to test that out eventually. But yeah, you can once you get started with it, then you can just carry on in the same thread, in the same conversation. You don't need to, you know, restart a new thread or something. Just a minute. Okay. All right. Um, all right. Just a second. Let me get back to the Kitty terminal and get rid of this and quit and quit. Um, Also, just a second. I have something that I need to do. Just a second. Almost there. Okay. All right. Um, hold on just a second. Okay. Okay. I think I found someone. Actually, I found two people. But let's see which one is. Let's see whose chat is blocked. You know what? All right. We're gonna go to this person's stream. This is a person called Bad Co Wo. Uh, that's an interesting name. That's a cool name, actually. Okay. Shit. I just realized. Yeah, I'm still in the BRB thing. Um, Sorry about that. Something came up because of which I had to switch to BRB. But yeah, I'm gonna set up the raid and we're gonna go to this person's stream. Sama, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Anyone else who might have been lurking in the chat, thanks for hanging out. That's gonna be it for today's stream. I do wish I had started a little earlier because holy shit, chatting about all this stuff, I just lose track of time. Now I've actually gotten to that point where I'm not dealing with lag, dude, and I'm just going off. I'm just going off. It is holy shit. It is amazing. I need to start streaming earlier so I can like yap for longer. Cause like today, look at the time. It's like 2 hours and close to 15 minutes. Um, but yeah, dude, I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna carry on with this. I still have to do more research. I think I'm gonna stick with my plan of doing the server in Python and doing the worker nodes in Rust. I might explore the idea of doing the entire thing in Rust, even the server in Rust. I'll see. I don't know. I still have to like do some research on that and see how comfortable I am with that, with doing that. But fortunately, I do know multiple languages, and so I can actually do the server in Python and the nodes in Rust. So that's good. But yeah, that being said, I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.